What's up, everybody? Carolina Jackpot checking in June the 13th, and it is time for part number 3 of our picks and predictions for the South Carolina Gamecocks and the 2018 season. I made parts 1 and 2 back in April. You want to scroll back. I'm going to link them in the description box below, actually, so you won't have to scroll at all. But it's been a while since I did those, and in June, it seems like college football picks up a lot more steam as far as interest from folks around the land. Back in April, everybody's still kind of into some basketball. They're into baseball, which they get into for about a month, and then everybody gets bored of that. So, college football has picked up steam now, and we're headed full bore towards the 2018 season. So it's time for part 3 of picks and predictions. Now, through games 1 through 8, I have us at a solid 5 wins, a loss to Georgia, and I gave us halves against Kentucky and Texas A&M. Reason why Texas A&M I think will be improved this year under Jimbo Fisher, and the matchup at Kentucky. A lot of people disagree with me on that. But the fact of the matter is, I've got to see us beat these guys before I'm going to actually predict that as a win. I don't care how good or bad they are predicted to be. They're not expected to be very good this year, I don't think. They're doing a lot of rebuilding, especially on offense. But I just don't see it happening 100%. Just don't want to. I'm not going to call that a sure thing. Just not going to do it. All right, so we are heading on into the Ole Miss game on the road in Oxford. South Carolina hasn't played Ole Miss since 2009. We actually upset them in 2009. They were ranked number 4 in the country at the time. For some reason, we beat them, and they quickly fell out of favor. They were 6-6 last year. Have an interim coach last year that is now the full-time head coach, Matt Luke. And he brings back a quarterback, Jordan Ta'amu. He's a dual threat guy. A lot of praise for this guy. He had a really good second half of the season last year. Led them to some wins. They had some close losses there. They actually beat their rival Mississippi State in the last game of the season. Their Mississippi State quarterback went down that real nasty injury, if you saw that, Egg Bowl. But they didn't win that game. They finished up 6-6, and a lot of people say, well, they're on probation and I ain't anything to play for, which is totally not true. They have plenty to play for. They'll be off probation before you know it, and they got to lay the groundwork for the future of the program. Ole Miss has never been, like a perennial team you will point to and say, oh, they're definitely going to be in the top 10 again this year. But they've always been decent. A notch above mediocre. They got a better football history than Carolina does, obviously. Better than some of the teams in the SEC. So they got a lot to play for there. Have a really good wide receiving core. Ole Miss, A.J. Brown on some preseason All-America lists. So I think this will be a high-scoring affair. I expect Carolina to give up some points here to Ole Miss. But at the end of the day, I just don't see Ole Miss having enough as far as depth, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to be able to stop what South Carolina is going to do offensively. And I say take a 1 touchdown to 10-point victory in this game on the road at Ole Miss. We will call this one a win. All right, the next game will be another one on the road the next week at Florida. Florida is expected to be improved this year. They return a lot of players on both sides of the ball. They got some players, a few of them anyway, coming back from and suspended for a whole year for that credit card incident garbage that happened right there at the beginning, or right before the beginning of the 2017 season. One of which Jordan Scarlett. He's a pretty good running back. He had almost 1,000 yards in 2016. So I definitely look for them to be more potent offensively. Dan Mullen's coming in to coach them, coming from Mississippi State. I always liked Mullen. I always thought he kind of did less with more at Mississippi State. Probably not always the best talent to work with, or the most talent to work with, but he did a really good job there. Led them to some bowl wins. They were actually the first team to be ranked number 1 in the playoff rankings. When they first came out back in 2014 for the first time. So look for him to improve them. I think it's going to improve them somewhat the first year. Get the system in there. I think he will make a decent quarterback out of the Franks kid. If he doesn't pan out, he's got some more talent there. Got a kid named Emory Jones. That's a dual threat type guy. Be a true freshman that's coming in. He's 4 stars. Good player. The Cleveland guy, they got wide receiver, is good. They have some decent depth on the defensive line. C.C. Jefferson. We had a linebacker, David Reese, well over 100 tackles last year. So they're potent. I just don't see, for some reason, I do not see South Carolina going on the road and losing this game. I think by this time of the year, they're going to be able to see the fruits of their labor, the fruits of winning 7 or 8 games by this point in the season. And I think Florida will probably come in probably about a 6-win team, maybe 5-win team. This is game number 10, so I could see them being 6-4, maybe 7-3 if they're hitting on all cylinders. I call it a hunch. I don't see South Carolina going on the road and losing this game. Traditionally, South Carolina has not played very well against these guys. You want to go back to last year's game, they were horrible. They were absolutely horrible. They got road graded by Missouri. They got beat up pretty bad by LSU. Just not very good at all last year. They really lost some. Got destroyed by Georgia. But then, they came to play us in Williams-Brice, and it was a 1-touchdown game, and that we were like one mistake there at the very end away from losing that game. I think we won it like 30-23, 31-23, something like that. But it was 28-20. Looking at my scoreboard here. So we definitely have some work to do when it comes to playing these guys. And then 2 years ago, we went down there and we still had an outside chance at winning the SEC East. Because it was just another one of those years where, Georgia wasn't very good. Tennessee was decent at first, but then they lost to us. And they lost to Vanderbilt. Florida was okay. Missouri wasn't very good. And Florida ended up winning the thing because pretty much nobody else wanted it. And we went down there, lost that game 20-7, I believe it was. And, it was a CBS game. And, we had momentum. We should have went down there. We should have played like, we knew what we were doing. We would have won that game. Came out, absolutely got just destroyed, just smacked around. I mean, it was 20-7. You look at that and say, well, you didn't get destroyed. Yes, we did. It was terrible. It was awful. That they got pushed around that day. Looked slow, looked like garbage. They could have beat us 40-7 if they'd wanted to, or 40-0. Terrible performance. Got to play better against Florida, and I think they're going to do it this year. Chattanooga, the Mocs, game 11 at home. They're a Southern Conference team. Had an uncharacteristically bad year last year. Finished up 3-8. I don't look for them to turn it around this year, I don't guess, but no, whether they do or not is irrelevant. This game's not going to be a factor. Win. Last game of the season on the road at Clemson. This one I've done plenty of videos on here, and I have made my views known about this team and this fan base, and it is what it is. I can feel a certain way because I'm a passionate fan. But when it gets down to it, you got to look at the nuts and bolts of the situation, and what's really there. And on paper, this team should either win or compete for the national championship this year. Got a ton of talent returning on both sides of the ball. They have a loaded defensive line. They have 4 guys up there that are probably going to be first-round draft picks if they have just halfway decent season. I mean, I think they would have all probably been first-round draft choices last year. Maybe a couple of them would have went in the second round, but they're pretty nasty up front, and there's not a lot of offensive lines out there. Especially in the conference they play in with the ACC. I mean, you want to look at that, and the second best team in their division is Florida State. Florida State's offensive line's horrible, and nobody else is going to be able to block those dudes. So, anybody that faces them has got a tough test. They return a lot of players at skill positions. A lot of good receivers. T. Higgins, Amari Rogers will be a factor this year. Wasn't really much of a factor last year. You got Hunter Renfro in the slot. I can't say enough about him. Know all about Hunter. And Justin Ross, be a true freshman coming in. So they got a lot of talent there. Got a lot of talent in the backfield. Tavian Feaster is a really good back. Was a Mr. Football in South Carolina his senior year in high school. #1 recruit out of the state, 5 stars. He hadn't really blossomed into what I think that Clemson expected from him. I think he had some trouble with the run game and blocking and so forth. Pass protection, not the run game. What I'm talking about there. Pass protection issues with Feaster. Travis Etienne was one that burst on the scene last year kind of out of nowhere. They picked him up right at the end of the recruiting cycle in 2017 out of Louisiana. He was considered, I think, a lock for LSU and ended up going to the Tigers, and he did some great things last year. He was a 1,000-yard rusher, got some lightning fast speed, and I don't think that he really did. I don't think that he showed everything that he could do last year to live up to his full potential, which is kind of scary. So they are going to be loaded. If you could look anywhere on their defense, I think there might be a point where they're going to be weak. It might be in the secondary, but then again, their secondary is still better than 3/4 of the Power 5 teams. So, not a lot of weaknesses there. I hate to say it. They're going to be in the playoffs again this year. It's just a question of what they're going to be seeded. The weakest position on their offense might be their starting quarterback, or the one they got starting right now, Kelly Bryant. A lot of people not too high on him. But that's going to be a battle there. Him and Trevor Lawrence, 5-star out of Cartersville, Georgia. One of the best high school players to come around in a long time, and they're loaded there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. This year, I wish I could say that I think we could compete, and I think we will compete, but I still just don't. I don't think we'll be battle tested enough by this game to compete with the Tigers in this one for all 4 quarters. I think that this will definitely be a lot better game than what you've seen the past 2 years. But in the end, the depth and their home field advantage. If this game was in Columbia, I might look at it a little bit differently, but it's not. It's in Clemson, and we haven't played very well there the past 2 times we've been up, and I expect to improve this year, but not enough to win this game. I call this one probably a 3-score loss. I think you're probably looking at something like the 42-20 type score. I think we'll put some points up finally, but it ain't going to be enough. So I just can't be delusional enough to say that we're going to win this game. So that's that, and that will leave us with a final record of 9-3. It could go either way. There are definitely opportunities there to slip up, and it could be a 7-5 season. There's also a little bit of opportunity there to, make sure we win those games against Kentucky, win those games against Texas A&M, you could be looking at a 10-2 record. Pull the shocker against Georgia, could be 11-1. That is the absolute best case scenario. Best case scenario. I do not think we're beating Clemson on the road. I don't see that happening, barring some kind of, for them having some kind of meltdown like they did last year against Syracuse. And I wouldn't call it that type of shock and upset. This is a rivalry game, and that kind of stuff can happen, but I just don't see it. That would leave us at 9-3 and probably in position for one of the Florida Bowls again. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I'm grateful to go to these bowls when we do well, but I would like to see us go somewhere other than Outback or Capital One, play one of these Big Ten teams. Don't you want to? We need to make sure that we beat Kentucky, beat Texas A&M, beat Florida, the Ole Miss, the teams that we could potentially slip up against. Finish 10-2. If we finish 10-2. And we have a decent showing against Clemson and have a game against UGA that goes down to like the fourth quarter, maybe a last possession type game, but we lose and both these guys end up in the playoffs, I think that Cox will make it to a New Year's Six Bowl. One of the ones which this year we're talking about the Rose, that would not be likely, like a Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl, Sugar Bowl. Either Peach or Sugar Bowl would probably be one of the ones that South Carolina would go to if they made it to a New Year's Six Bowl. That would be best case scenario, I think. Now, of course, best case scenario would be going 12-0 and end up in Atlanta in an SEC championship game against the winner of the West. But, like I say, that's kind of far-fetched. Still not ready to go there yet. I can't. I'm not going to be that guy. So that's my picks and predictions for this year. 9-3, a solid season. Once again, an improvement in Coach Muschamp's third year. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, and if you like the videos, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the videos, give it a thumbs down. Whatever. If you don't have an opinion either way, don't give it any thumbs. Either way, go Cox. See y'all later. Peace. I'm out.